Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera passions. I am your regular host, LeTara, back with one of my faves, Dr. Eric Vera.
Hello. Listen up. Move over, Columbo. Step aside, Jessica Fletcher. Use your best Robert Stack voice of Unsolved Mysteries. Harmony PD ain't shit. Tabitha Lennox is on the case.
Tabitha Lennox is on the case. Just call her fucking Agatha Christie or some shit. Like she Poirot and Sherlock Holmes. Actually, but the thing is, she already knows what happened.
She knows it.
She's just trying to get the cops to do their fucking jobs.
I'm hearing the past guests. It's been so enjoyable to hear you all just rake Harmony PD over the coals because y'all have pinpointed the amount of crime that happens in Harmony that is unsolved mysteries.
One of my favorite, unsolved mysteries. This is the epicenter of unsolved mysteries, right? One of my favorite things this week that cracked me up was Sam saying, if Julian was murdered, I'm going to throw everything I got at whoever did this to find out who did it, because no murder goes unsolved in my town. Oh, really? I think Crystal might have something to say about that.
Simone's broken leg or has something to say about that.
I think Crystal might have something to say about that. Sir.
Also,
Officer.
I know it was a long time ago, but like Martin Lopez Fitzgerald's missing, Antonio's missing. There's a lot of stuff that we just don't know what happened to these people.
And you know what? I'll give Sam a pass on Martin because maybe he wasn't even a police officer when that happened. It was a while back. But no, Crystal, Simone, Orville, who else? There's so many victims in this town.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of unsolved mysteries and some that are unsolvable, like the Hell House. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Supernatural, chalk it up to it's a literal act of God.
Yes.
But I don't know, these hit and runs that keep happening in your town, maybe do something about it. But anyway,
with all that said, it is so good to be back, and I'm thrilled. We've had such a fun week, you and I.
I know. I'm so excited to talk to you about the episodes, but before we do that, this week we talked to Mackenzie Westmore, y'all. We talked to Mackenzie Westmore,
Sheridan Crane.
Yeah, aka Sheridan Crane, the American princess herself.
God bless y'all. What a treat. What an absolute treat. We can't wait to share that with y'all.
Yeah, I can't wait to share with you. It should be coming out soon. I had a blast, although I got like really flustered because it was storming here, and so my internet kept going out, and it was just like, of course, this would be the time that the Lord, thus saith the Lord, no, and LeTara shall not talk to Mackenzie Westmore. She shan't at all.
Yeah.
I felt like I was being smited a little bit,
but she was an absolute gem during all of that, and she is the real deal, and it was so cool to chat with her, and I'm still glowing over it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really awesome. So shout out to Mackenzie, thank you. Shout out to Jessica Jean who hooked that up for us. Thank you so much. She told us that her dad was friends, and I'm not gonna say who her dad is because she didn't even tell me. But when Mackenzie said it, I was like, now she really buried the lead on that. So thank you so much, Jessica. Shout out to you so much.
Thank you.
And speaking of patrons, let's say shout outs to our patrons over on Patreon. All right, here we go. Thank you to Muna Shea, Marcus, Brelyn, Lisa, Sid, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Samantha, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, George Lopez Fitzgerald, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Justin, Paige, and Casey. Thank you all so very much for being and continuing to be patrons. Again, if you want to become a patron, just go over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and choose whatever tier you find most agreeable. It is the only reason this show is still going. So just be clear about that.
And that is where you will get to see and hear the episode with Sheridan Crane herself.
Yes, that's true. Thank you. Because my plan is to put part of the episode on YouTube for free, but the whole thing will be, because we talked for about an hour, the whole thing will be on the Patreon. So check out the Patreon. You don't have to necessarily join to see it. But you should join because that's your best bang for your buck. But you can just buy it as a digital download. All right. So those are the announcements for the week. My parish. I'm sorry. You know how you go to church and they make the announcements? That's what this
Oh yeah.
felt like. That's what that kind of felt like. So, with that said, it's time to get into this episode. We watched episodes 646 through 650 this week. Yes?
That's correct.
It was a good time. I was telling Eric before we started that because this was a recap week, but it was a recap week following a lot of exposition, right? Like it was a recap week
Hmm.
following a lot of action. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And I do have plenty to talk about, and we have so much to say, even though it was a recap week.
Me
Okay.
too.
So we got Julian's murder to talk about first, y'all. Dun dun
Who shot
dun.
Julian Crane? Yeah,
Let,
very.
let
Who shot JR?
It was great because the top of this episode, the top of this week, Julian's hanging on for his life, right? He like falls
Yeah.
over to the tuna disinfecting vat. That's not what it's called. I think it was like tuna
They
something
kept
vat.
calling it the vat. Yeah,
I
the
I have
tuna
I have
vat.
it written in my notes somewhere, but sterilization is literally at the top of my
Oh,
notes.
okay.
The tuna sterilization vat. But so you think he's gonna fall in, but once he like falls and through like this little gate on the catwalk, and then he like immediately grabs onto this like wheel thing above
Yeah,
his head,
weird
like almost.
mechanism that's just
Yeah,
above the vat.
this whole thing was ridiculous, and I have so much to say about
Yeah.
it. So he's holding on, but he can't hold on. Meanwhile, Tabitha and Timmy are like watching through like the bowl and Hecuba's lair
Yeah.
for whatever reason. She just finds ways like bodies of water to watch things in.
Yeah.
Like she does because she goes back to her house and watches some stuff in a bowl at her house
Yeah.
too. But anyway, she's watching and she makes this crack about Julian's strength. Like she's like he won't be able to hold on for long. The heaviest thing he ever picks up is a whiskey.
Gleeful Tabitha, vengeful Tabitha is my favorite. She is just this is the happiest we get to see her, and it just makes me so happy because she and times she's had her popcorn before and she's basically in the same mode. She's just really enjoying the fact that she knows Julian's about to meet his demise.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So real quick, while we talk about Gleeful Tabitha, let's just throw this in there. Timmy like catches up with Tabitha after the New Year's Eve party, right? And they have a conversation around how he is now like human and he really feels these emotions really like deeply about wanting to be good, not wanting to do bad
Yeah.
things, and he really like wants to save Charity, and she tells him like over my dead body will you do
Yeah.
that, and then she renews her like I knew it, you said I knew once you became a human that you would like abandon me. So that whole thing's kind of going on
Yeah.
during this. Just want to
Yes.
throw that in there because there's not a lot of like magic proper stuff
Yeah.
this week.
Timmy just talks about how he wants to be good. Like, it is a done deal. I want to be good.
Yeah. So and then she talks about loyalty and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah. So let's continue with Julian. He's hanging on for dear life, but he eventually slips and falls because as Tabitha said, he doesn't have the strength.
Well, and we get this great montage right before he falls into that vat because he is seeing his life flash before his eyes, and in that we get a list of suspects. We get one line from each suspect, basically giving us like a cool little montage on all of them being Ivy, Ethan, Theresa, Antonio slash Brian, Pilar, Luis, Sheridan, Rebecca, TC, and Eve. And I want to play this game with you. Let's really talk about these suspects. Above all, I mean, who's at the top of your list? Because I mean, I know who it is.
Me
I
too.
remember. But if we're looking at the list of suspects that they gave us, who is on the top of your list?
Top of my list, who killed if we're really looking at these people and these people only,
Yeah.
who would shoot Julian and just like walk away from it? Theresa, Ivy, Rebecca, TC. Well, TC would be a little more worked up, I think.
Yeah.
I just don't think TC would be able to hide it. Not that any of these people are hiding it very well, because everybody looks suspicious.
Oh my God. The way they paint them as like everybody's a suspect, to
Yeah.
quote the great Randy Meeks of Scream. It is so fun. I'm like, Pilar, I mean, maybe, just maybe, she could be that vengeful, but Sheridan, especially, that's another random one because it's just like, well, we were led to believe that as a young child, she
Y'all.
shot somebody, so.
And oh my fucking God. Okay, first of all, we were led to believe that as a child she stabbed somebody.
Oh, there we go. There we go. That's right.
Second of all, she sleepwalks this week and has dreams of murdering somebody or of a dead person, of a dead body. I was like, oh, okay, oh brother, we're back to this shit again. Great. Yeah. But anyway, so yes, he has this flash before his life. Literally every single person is telling him, you deserve to die. Julian, you deserve to die. It was great. Yeah. It was a great montage. It was they did like 2 or 3 montages of just people telling him he deserves to die, and like just like things he had done and said to people. And they were easily my favorite montages that we've had up to this point. They were great.
Yeah. It was fun. I will say the one that cracked me up a little bit, and I'm not trying to demean it, but it just was the line delivery was TC saying, "You destroyed my shot at a pro tennis career." But it just was a random, it didn't fit with the rest of the other motives. It was like, I mean, that's obviously very crucial to his character development, but it didn't line up with the rest of the reasons why other people wanted to kill him.
And I will reiterate, on the TC front, because last week Lisa and I were talking about his dad, and how his dad just like fucking died because his son couldn't play tennis anymore. And honestly,
died of a broken heart.
If I'm TC, I'm more upset with my father. Why? I maintain that. Why wouldn't you want to live just because I can't play tennis anymore? It's wild.
Yeah. I thought y'all made great points, you and Lisa, talking about generational trauma. And it's like, let me go ahead and pass this down to my daughter.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yes, he sees everybody talking shit about him in his mind, right?
Yeah.
And he sees all the bad things he's done recently. He's like, yeah, who am I kidding? Nobody's coming to rescue me, because he's like, help, and he's like, who's gonna help me, right? Yeah. And so he then falls into that vat. The tuna sterilization vat, y'all. And before he falls in, he's like, dear God, why is this happening to me?
Oh yeah. He says something like, I admit I've behaved badly on occasion. It's like, no, you've done some horrible, horrible things. At some point when he's like falls off the top, Tabitha mentions that she's so happy that Hecuba's pool has a slow motion feature, so she can watch him fall slowly over and over again. And we watched that clip way too many times this week. They repeat that clip so much.
I loved it. Watching him fall into that ridiculous vat. This ridiculous like 1960s Batman like set.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it looks like.
Absurd.
Exactly.
Okay, so Julian falls in. Tabitha's watching. She says, Julian Crane is dead at last. And then Timmy turns to her and says, who shot Julian Crane? And I was like, yeah, that's the name of the episode. Who shot Julian Crane?
Yeah.
And Tabitha says it could be anyone. Anyone could have done it. And then we start seeing everybody getting rid of their fucking guns.
Hiding all the guns.
Again, the most irresponsible people in the world.
Yeah.
First of all, so Antonio throws his gun into the ocean.
Yeah.
Let me see. TC hides his gun in his jacket. Okay.
Yeah. Eve hides a gun somewhere.
Eve hides hers under a bush.
Yeah.
Like an Easter egg for a child to find. Pilar also, she throws hers down a well. Timmy's down a well.
And I wonder, does a wish come true when you do that? That's what I thought.
Anytime you throw a gun in a well, an angel gets his wings.
A little angel girl goes through puberty. That's
exactly. So she throws hers in the well. Theresa then hides her gun like in a bush. Yeah. And she goes, what have I done? So, okay. Rebecca puts her gun back in its holster up her panties or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, y'all, panties is Mackenzie Westmore's least favorite word. I love because I actually hate that word too. Even though I
Yeah,
just said it
what a great
twice.
word to say. What a
It is a
great word
weird
to say.
word.
Like, no, a great word to say that it's your
No,
first word.
yeah,
That's what I meant. Yeah, because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that right away.
I when
And
she
she
said it, I was
seriously
like,
gave it some really good thought to it, and it was like boom.
and well, she got there pretty fast too. But I was like, yeah, she hates this word.
Yeah,
So anyway, Rebecca, she slides her gun into her underwear, basically. And she pours herself a drink. Gwen
yeah.
comes in. Gwen doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
No,
We'll talk about that in a little bit. We see Ivy. She's very, very much on edge. She also hides her gun in a vase.
in a vase, and it made me think of the Golden Girls. You shot my
My,
vase. You shot my vase. I didn't shoot Lester. I'd rather you shot Lester.
um, let's see. Ethan hides his gun in some bushes. There's at least 3 guns hidden just in plain areas where
Yeah,
children can find them.
yeah,
Yeah, he hides his gun in some bushes. Everybody goes back to the mansion because they remember they were out searching for Julian
yeah,
to kill
yeah.
him, right? Everybody goes back to the mansion. Everybody's acting really nervous. Everybody's a little jumpy. Everyone except for Gwen, who's standing there completely out of the loop
Yeah.
and confused and is like, why are y'all all acting so weird? She's like, why are you all back here? Did you find Julian? And everybody's like, we'll never see him again. Like, and at one point Ethan's like, Julian's dead. And Ivy's like, what do you mean he's dead? And she's like, I mean, he's dead to me.
And let me tell you, this is an hour's worth of this happening. Is people being like, "Oh, you can't talk to somebody in hell. What do you mean he's in hell?" Well, I'm just saying he's probably gonna go there no matter. Like it was just so many of these things. I will say Gwen served her purpose this week a lot. One, she is our audience person, so she's like, "What do y'all mean? Everybody here went to go look for Julian and nobody saw him." Like it was just really great to have her be our like person
You know
into
what's
like investigating it.
you know what's crazy too? I had like an aha moment with Gwen this week.
I'm interested when we get there.
Yeah, I had an aha moment with Gwen this week, and I don't know. I think my perspective will be forever changed.
Oh,
Yeah,
Maria, are
not
you hearing
no.
this?
Don't even call Maria. Don't invoke Maria on this because we ain't all the way there yet. Like I'm still not on Team Gwen. I might not be as much of a hater as I thought I was gonna be. Okay. So, but you know what? And also, it does circle back to what I've been saying for all along, which is that Ethan sucks. Like that he's terrible.
I can't
Um,
wait to get there. I'm looking forward to it.
so that thesis maintains
Yeah.
proven. Okay, so everybody's like super nervous. Gwen notes that like Rebecca smells like fish. Um,
Everybody
yeah,
smells like fish. And
yeah.
it's
TC
so
finds
funny
Eve
to
on the
hear over and
property.
over. Yeah.
Eve hugs TC and notices that he has a gun in his pocket, and they both just talk about why they were there. TC
I did
says,
write that down because it made me laugh because she's like, TC, is that a gun in your pocket? And it made me think of
"Are you just happy
Are
to
you
see
just
me?"
happy to see me? I really could not think that. It was, and you know what? God bless the actress because she delivered it very well. But I'm like, how do you say those words and not think that?
Well, and it's even more hilarious because the gun was like in his lapel pocket, right? Like it was like
Yes.
up
Yeah.
here. So it's
Yeah.
like, is that a gun in your pocket? You just happy to see me? Is like you got you're a gun shaped hard nipple, like right?
Ay, ay, ay. Yeah.
But yeah, they all decide basically to go their separate ways. They're like, we're not going to
Yes.
talk about Julian. Julian's gone for good. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, they're like, I'm sure that I think Ivy says this. I'm sure Alistair. He called Alistair and Alistair got him out of trouble and he's long gone by now. He escaped Harmony and immediately Alistair calls and is like, where's Julian? I want to talk to Julian. Put Julian on the phone. So that of course ruins her theory that Julian was helped by Alistair and is gone.
And again, I just want to point out there is a pregnant pause right before, like when the phone rings, they all look at it like, well, who's going to answer that? And I just thought about the power dynamic of like, this isn't our house. Where is the staff? Do I feel like answering this phone? It's just a really funny little moment for me. And it was
Well,
nothing that made me laugh.
and let's remember what the time frame is here. It's
Yeah.
got to be somewhere anywhere between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. in Harmony on January 1st,
It's
right? Like
close to midnight. Yeah, on New
Well,
Year's.
now it's thriller night. Because we got zombie Charity and now a dead,
Julian
quote,
Crane.
dead Julian. We got a crime scenes all over the city. So anyway, so that throws that theory out the window. Alistair doesn't know where Julian is. So then we roll over the next day. Everybody like goes to their respective homes, all except for Ethan,
Yeah.
because
Well,
Ethan has
and
nowhere to
yes.
go.
And then Brian ends up with Liz out by the docks. They're over there, and Sheridan ends up over there as well. So that's where they're at.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that nonsense. Ugh, y'all, I hated that this week, but
Yeah.
we'll get to it. So let's talk about Tabitha the next day, because we're gonna finish up with, well, not necessarily finish all the way up, but
Yeah.
do as much of the Julian murder stuff as we can. So Tabitha is waiting anxiously next to her radio for a news report about Julian Crane's murder, but nothing is being reported. So she decides, you know what? I'm going to just take matters into my own hand. I'm going to call the trash newspaper in town and tell them and give them the tip. So she calls this like tabloid and tells them Julian Crane's been murdered. And they're like, what's your source? She's like, I'm the source. They're like, what's your name? She's like, you don't need to know that. Click. Like,
Yeah,
that's
so
it.
fast. A couple things right before that. At some point, Timmy does ask, like, where did they get all of these guns? So then Tabitha has to admit that she was the one planting guns all over the place. Also, Timmy is adorable in this opening scene. He's in his PJs with a glass of OJ. He's, trying to forget last night, and Tabitha's like, no, we got to talk about how Julian was murdered in cold blood, or shall I say, hot tuna.
One thing I do love about this, well, not just one, I love a lot of things about the new Timmy storyline, that he's like a real boy, but is that he gets to wear a new, like a real regular costume,
Hmm.
He gets to do wardrobe now
Yeah.
versus like he either had the one costume or just
Yeah.
a ton of just ridiculous,
And yeah, we don't got those mittens anymore.
Yeah, and he's just
Yeah,
so cute in his like real boy clothes. I love it.
yeah,
So yes, she's waiting, so she calls the tabloid. Um then she decides, let me, because she waits and waits, she listens for the radio again, hears nothing, right? So she decides she's gonna go over to the Bennett's house. She's like,
yeah,
you know what? The chief of police lives right next door. Maybe I'll put a little bug in his ear.
yeah.
And so she goes over to the Bennett's home and tells Police Chief Sam, hey man, I heard a rumor. I heard a rumor that Julian Crane was murdered last night. Murder most foul it
Hmm.
is. Eerie I find it. That's from Peter Grimes. If anybody's super into Britain opera.
There you go.
But anyway, yeah, she tells him, and Sam tells her, nope, haven't heard anything, because of course he hasn't. He's
Yeah,
like, nope, haven't heard anything. Um, and he sends her on her way, basically. He's like, I'll investigate it, but you shouldn't listen to rumors. I'm sure Julian's fine. But of course Tabitha knows otherwise, right?
yeah. She saw
So
the whole thing, so
she's like, oh my God, this fucking idiot. I guess I got to do this myself. So she goes to the cannery. So let's talk about what is happening at the cannery.
yeah,
At the cannery, oh my God, y'all. So I think we skipped this one part that is extremely important. After Julian fell in, oh, we didn't skip it. We're at it now.
no, yeah,
We're at it now. So at the cannery, there's these two employees. I call them Tweedledee and Tweedledum, I guess.
pretty much.
These two weird guys
Yeah,
who notice that the gate on the catwalk was open, and
hmm,
they complain about how the Cranes don't care about the employees or our safety. They say,
yeah,
oh, I'm sure it just fell open because that the latch up there is very rusted and we've been trying to get it fixed, but they won't fix anything because the Cranes, all they care about is profits. Um and then they like push a giant button, and this giant, it almost looks like a pinwheel with a lot of like blades on it, I
yeah,
guess. It's hard to explain. Sincerely, it looked like something out of like Austin Powers
Yeah.
or the Power Rangers, or like it was absurd, like this
Yeah.
blade thing, and it just like spins around, and they lowered it into the water and it's spinning. To be clear, there's nothing in this water. We don't see anything in the water. When Julian fell in, I think there were 4 tuna in it. Like,
Yeah, and they were so obviously big fake tuna fish, like a weird gimmicky fish that you would find at Bass Pro Shop. Like it was really bizarre. Like these 4 fish that were just there, stiff as a board.
and there's like the bottom of the pool is like lit. Like you can
Yeah.
see the water's beautiful. It's like a
Yeah.
aquamarine
Yeah.
color. But there's nothing in the water.
Yeah.
And they send this blade down, and we are meant to believe this was so stupid. I don't know why they did it like this. We are meant to believe that, one, this is how they shred up the tuna
Yeah.
in a giant thing of water
Yeah.
with no tunas in it.
Yeah.
And 2, we're meant to believe that this thing has disposed of Julian and has shredded him up.
Yeah.
Not a drop of blood.
No.
Not a drop of blood anywhere.
No.
Nothing. Even if Julian wasn't in the vat, there still should be blood from the fish. This is the cleanest, clearest, most beautiful. I would go swimming in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, to make it clear, again, they gave us a shot of Julian's arm resurfacing, like showing us that he did definitely fall in that thing. So
Yeah, he definitely fell in.
yeah, but if he was murdered or not, that remains to be seen.
This whole thing with the spinning wheel thing really drove me crazy, because when I say it was the clearest, cleanest, most beautiful water I've ever seen on a TV show, it's like, why wouldn't they have just made it dark?
Yeah.
Instead of being so clear and blue, and like I can see through the water, and I know that there's nothing horrible happening here. It should have at least been bloody.
Yeah. At least.
At least, because I mean, there's supposed to be a bunch of fish in there. It would make sense that it would be bloody and gross, you know?
Yeah.
There was nothing in the water. It was very lazy. Anyway, going on. Sorry.
Yeah.
So these 2 guys, they send down the thing. It spins, whatever. Tabitha shows up to investigate Julian's disappearance, right? To find some evidence that Julian was there. And she sees his like white tuxedo jacket floating in the water. Somehow these 2 fucking idiots missed it entirely.
Tabitha spoke for all of us this week, because she was like, how are they not? There's a jacket in the water where the tuna is supposed to be, and that's going to be fed to people. How do you not see? And it was blatantly on the top.
You remember on Kenan and Kel, I put the screw in the tuna. I put the jacket in the tuna. And soon we're gonna see the ring. I'm gonna do that as soon as we get to the ring. But yeah, she sees his jacket floating in the water. She fishes it out of the water, sight unseen. Nobody sees her.
Yeah.
And she pulls it out, and she notices that it's like all shredded up and everything. Oh wait, no, she doesn't pull it out. Sorry.
Well,
she pulls it to where the people,
Yes.
these 2 employees, will see the jacket, right? So she kind
And
of
again,
pulls it.
throughout all this, she's like, God, these idiots. She's like, I got to do everything. She's literally solved. That's why, again, when we opened this episode, Tabitha's the one. Yes, she knows all the answers, but she's also like this murder again would never be solved, because Tabitha had to go fish that jacket out with like this long metal pole and then put it up on the surface.
Sam was never going to investigate this.
Never.
Sam was never going to investigate this at all. That was very clear.
Yeah. And again, I get it. I mean, like, he doesn't want. I wish they would have at least just said, you know what? I don't care if Julian's dead. But he never says that. He's like, I am an officer of the law, and I have to figure this out. But I'm like, Tabitha's giving you all of the answers, and you're still like, well, I don't know.
Okay, so the 2 cannery employees find the jacket once Tabitha pulls it to a place where they would have to see it. So they find it, immediately see a giant like embroidered patch on the inside that says like made exclusively for Julian Crane, and they're like, oh my god, this is Julian Crane's jacket. And they're very concerned, not about Julian, but that they will have to stop production, and the Cranes hate if we stop production, and they're like, this is bad news, like we should just pretend like we didn't see it.
Yeah. I will say, in terms of staying on point, that sounds like a very Alistair thing to do. Like, oh, my son's dead, but did it stop production?
Yeah,
And we'd see
absolutely.
his hand fist on something.
Absolutely. I think that these two employees at the cannery
Are correct.
are absolutely right, that Alistair would rather they just pretend like this didn't happen than stop production. So they decide, we're not gonna do anything with this jacket. Meanwhile, Tabitha and Timmy are like watching from the side. Tabitha is her guests are flabbered. Okay, she's
Yeah.
flabbergasted because she's like, I did this. They should. I thought this would force them to report it, but they're not gonna report it. They like start to like throw the jacket away.
Yeah.
And she comes out pretending that she and Timmy are on like a tour of the cannery. She's like, Julian Crane invited me here for a tour of the cannery. And she's like, oh, what's that you've got there? So she takes the jacket from them, realizes that it says, oh my goodness, this is Julian's jacket. What? This is the one he was wearing last night. We must report this to the police.
Yeah, and the guys are like, nah, we don't need to do that. And they basically throw the jacket away and call her a crazy old lady.
Yep. But she pulls it out of the trash and takes it right over to the police station. After they found the jacket, they overhear on the news that Julian Crane is missing.
Yeah.
Then they find the jacket, and so they're worried that they're gonna get caught up in the bullshit
Yes,
too.
yeah.
Like they're worried that they're gonna be implicated in some way.
And I don't blame them for that. That's terrifying.
And especially with it being the Cranes, like it would be
Yes.
one thing if it was just like some random person, but it's
You
like
would totally
it's
report
Julian
it.
Crane,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I don't want to get caught up in whatever this is, you know. And so yeah, they just decide to get rid of the jacket. That's when Tabitha comes in, and anyway, she takes the jacket, and she takes it over to Sam to the police station. And she hands it to him, and he tells her like, calm down.
Yeah, he literally says, Tabitha, calm down, all right? Like, it's like, she has evidence in her hands, bro.
Because not only does she give him the jacket, he's looking at it. He at first he says, how do you know it's Julian? She's like, it's got his name on it. Then she's like, and what is that? Is that a bullet hole I see?
To which, what does he say? He says, could be. Who can tell? You should be able to tell.
He said, it's impossible to tell. There's no real way to tell. We do not have a forensic scientist. Eve is off today. So there's no way to tell.
I mean, I'll give it to him that the thing's shredded, right? But like Tabitha legit already knows to go looking for a bullet hole and can point it out. Like if it shreds and there is a hole in there, I mean, I would just assume that was a bullet.
Yeah, and yes, Tabitha shows him the bullet hole. Not notices, she knows it's there. She shows him the bullet hole. He's again, could be, could not be, maybe not. It's not like I've ever shot a gun before in my life. It's not like guns are part of my job or anything.
Yeah.
And he takes the jacket. He's like, I'll investigate this. Tells her to calm down, and like walks away from her. Because she keeps saying, you know, I keep hearing these rumors that Julian Crane was murdered.
Yeah.
We can't let a murder stand in our beautiful, peaceful town of Harmony.
Yeah. Well, and I will say also, he's like, what were you doing in the cannery in the first place? To which she has to say, Julian offered me a tour. And he right away correctly is like, Julian offered you a tour of the cannery? And I'm like, come on, this is so lazy.
Well, and he knows that in and of itself is suspicious, right?
Yeah.
And but also it's like, why would Tabitha tell on herself if she was the one that killed him?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But he knows that that's odd and suspicious. So anyway, he takes the jacket, and
he finally is like, I'm gonna go investigate. And Tabitha's
Yeah.
like, fine. Like, it's so funny to watch her in this. She's
At
like, finally.
at one point she was like, yeah, if he doesn't take this seriously, I'm gonna have to call the state police or the feds. She was literally like, I'm gonna have to call the fucking FBI
Yeah, because nobody cares.
for all the
Nobody's doing
corruption, for all the corruption in this town.
Yeah.
And somehow she's the do-gooder.
Yeah.
Somehow she is the bastion of justice in this town.
And again, the only reason being is in her head, or what the scroll, whatever. She was like, once this murder gets figured out, it's going to cause a lot of problems and it's going to throw harmony into chaos. That's basically why she's doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, actually, here's the line. I love this line. She says, if Simpleton Sam doesn't listen to me, I'm going to have to call the state police or the feds. I just love that she called him Simpleton Sam.
Oh, yeah.
That's his Simpleton Sam.
He was very much a simpleton in this episode.
He's Simple Sam from now until eternity. That is Simple Sam. Period. So anyway, Sam goes to the cannery, right? And is like gonna conduct an investigation, calls for Luis as well. He tells the employees that they are gonna have to shut down production, and they're like, well, Mr. Crane's not gonna like that, and he says, I'll take responsibility for it because I am the law. No, he says, I'll take responsibility for it, but you have to shut down. This is now a crime scene. And so he and Luis are talking about how just the jacket alone is not enough evidence to prove that Julian was murdered, which is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So that they're like looking for clues or whatever. He tells the guys, the two employees, because they were like, yeah, what the tuna that was in here was already processed.
Yeah,
so if he was down there, he would be in a can. He would be in cans, basically, right?
Yeah.
Which, so disgusting. But wouldn't the jacket also be in the cans?
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't it have gotten shredded up and be in the cans? So anyway, he tells them, well, you need to recall all of those cans. They haven't been shipped out yet, right? Tabitha, because she's watching, right? Tabitha grabs some cans of some tuna fish from an open box, and Tammy's like, ugh, didn't you hear them? That might have Julian in it. Don't you know that might have Julian in it? And she's like, whatever.
She basically says, witches gotta eat. Witches gotta eat.
She said, free food is free food.
These
are probably the worst pies in London. A little crane. It's a little crane instead of a little priest.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And again, that's when Sam says, nobody kills someone on my watch and gets away with it.
Nobody kills somebody in harmony on my watch and gets away with it, even if it's Julian Crane. And I wrote, oh yeah, what about Crystal? I remember, if I recall, you never caught Crystal's murderer. Yeah. Actually, you don't actually know who killed Crystal. We know. And that person was caught. Yeah. But actually, he was killed, wasn't he? Didn't he get Sheridan shot him?
Yeah. Golly, that's been so long ago.
It's been so long. I'm gonna have to, because I cite Crystal too often for me not to know the facts of that case. You know what? We should do like a true crime, like a true crime spoof podcast that of just like.
Oh
who killed Crystal?
So much fun.
Yeah, that was
Perhaps
fun.
Someone out there is watching. Perhaps that someone is you.
Yeah, I see your unsolved mysteries back there.
I put it on theme. I figured we had an unsolved mystery on our hands. Yeah. And at Ghostbusters, we are dealing with the ghosts of Julian Crane now.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Luis shows up. They're doing the investigation. Tabitha's like, my work here is done. Let's take some free tuna fish that might be Julian Crane's body and go home and feast. She goes home, she opens the can immediately and immediately finds Julian's signet ring, which I've never heard the word signet ring.
I actually wanted to look that up too, because I was like, what is a signet ring?
A signet
I've heard
ring,
of it.
Oh, it's kind of like a class ring, it looks
Okay,
like.
got it.
Yeah, I see. I'm looking at them now.
Yeah. And again,
Huh.
Tabitha is just kind of teasing Timmy. She actually is like, I was just joking with you. We're not eating this, but I am going to give it to Fluffy.
Yeah, she gave it to the cat. She still fed it to somebody in her
when they
household.
when they open it and the signet ring comes out, Timmy's like, Timmy is not eating that. Timmy is a boy, not a cannibal. And then when that ring comes out, Timmy's like, I'm about to hurl, and he walks off camera.
Yeah, it was gross. I mean, if his ring's in there, that stands to reason that maybe his fingers are too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I put the ring in the tuna. It would have been a missed opportunity had I not used it.
I know. I hope so many people get your reference because I get it. It just makes me, yeah,
Me and my brother and my sister, we used to walk around saying that all
yeah.
the time.
We love orange soda.
I sincerely did love orange soda growing
Yeah,
up. Like it was like my favorite drink.
yeah.
Tara loves orange soda. We used to do that all the time too.
Is it true?
I do, I do, I do.
Do.
Ooh. So anyway, yeah, she finds his ring in the can. Meanwhile, Sam is talking about how they have to find additional evidence. Tabitha feels that the ring itself is enough to prove that Julian was murdered. I don't know why that would prove it. I mean, they found his tattered fucking jacket.
Yeah.
Why would the ring be even more? I mean, it's just more evidence that Julian is missing.
Yeah, there we go. I was about to say that would be the best way of putting it. It's like there's definitely like what is Julian Crane's ring doing in a can of tuna?
Yeah. So, meanwhile, while all of this is happening, we need to talk about David, Grace, all of this because David took some pictures at the party the night before, and that so his pictures really tie into this. So we're gonna move on into our like troubled marriages stuff.
Okay.
Because he took. Remember, he was paid to take pictures at this party, right? Or although I
This
don't know if she paid him or not.
just a ploy to basically have David there and to get Grace there.
Yeah, so he's developing these pictures from the New Year's Eve party, and John's with him, and they're in the dark room, right? And John's talking about how like fun the night was.
Yeah. Okay. So, can I ask, did I was not here on these episodes, so did John go to the New Year's Eve party with the kids?
Oh no,
Like
John went.
he went
John
there.
went to the Crane Mansion.
Okay, but he didn't go with the kids at all yet, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, because something's gonna happen with John and Zombie Charity at some point, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it.
You didn't miss it. No,
Okay,
charities.
good. I'll
Charities.
leave it at that. Just
Charity's really thoughting it up with these guys.
yeah, she-
And I'm not mad at her, you know. She's doing
No,
what she
and
had
I'm
to
I'm sad I didn't get any zombie charity this week, but I gotta say, God bless the actress because they're finally giving her stuff to do. Like she really proves how good she is in this because you can see that wide range if you
do.
go
Yeah.
from simple charity to zombie charity and like being sultry and salacious. Like it's just much more fun to watch her play.
Yeah.
But she's not in any of these episodes. But it's
She's
all good.
not. She's not. I did talk about that on one of the episodes about how
Yes.
you could probably it's very easy to believe that that actress Molly is just like not a good
I was
actress.
grateful that you shouted her out and was just like, look, when they give her stuff to do, she really is great in this
She
stuff.
delivers. Yeah,
Yeah,
they just never gave her anything to do. And
yeah,
the thing that they gave her to do, she had to do for 700 episodes.
yeah,
So of course, you know, it gets old. It gets
yeah,
old.
yeah,
So yes, she's not here this week, which honestly, I wasn't mad that we didn't get any zombie charity or the
yeah,
kids this week. I was glad we were like
yeah,
kind of narrowed in on the Julian stuff.
yeah,
Okay, so he's developing these pictures. John's talking about what a fun night it was at the over at the murder mansion, right? He's like, yeah, it was pretty fun. I mean, things did take a turn there when that tabloid
yeah,
reporter showed up, but before
yeah,
that, it was nice seeing you and mom together. And so David talks to his son about how rich people have a different sense of morality. and like they just use people. And then John is like, yeah, but that Ivy, she's really nice. She seemed really nice. And I wrote, he's a poor judge of character, just like his quote mother, because
Yeah.
that's exactly how Grace interpreted Ivy in the
Yeah.
beginning, when
Yeah.
Sam kept telling her like, I don't want to be around Ivy, I don't want to be with the Cranes, like they're terrible
Yeah.
people. And Grace kept being like, no, Ivy's super nice. Like Julian, yeah, he sucks, but
Yeah.
Ivy, she's cool. And John's saying the same thing. So it's just funny. Like, is
Yeah.
Grace his mother? Like,
God
um,
bless John. Bless his heart.
bless his heart. So John asks David, he's like, I know I just saw her last night, but can we go see my mother? Yeah, bro, like you're grown, go see her.
Yeah.
But
I appreciated that y'all called him out. Like they are not writing well for his age. And so I appreciated that y'all did that in the last few episodes. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I can't imagine like not having a mom and then you finally find that you have one. But I wish they would just given him a little bit more nuance.
Oh
You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
because this whole all in
Yeah.
scenario makes zero sense. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. On both sides, on the side of John and on the side of Grace, it doesn't make sense for them to
Yeah.
be just like fully and completely all in. You're
Yeah.
my mother, and
Well,
now and I'm calling you mom, and like,
well, and it made me happy again that you all brought out the logistics of this because it's like, what did David call Grace all these years? Was it just your mother, your mother? But I'm like, I mean, I know my mom's name is Celia, always have. But I, how would you not know her first name? Or did like G? I mean, like, what did
yeah.
you all call her?
Well, see, that's the thing. In one of the episodes, she is introduced to John as Grace, and
Yeah.
immediately he makes the leap to Grace mother. So that's why I was like, well, is his real mom's named Grace? Like, no, seriously, because it seems as if he's been told that his mom's name
Yeah.
was Grace, right? Because he really made that leap once he heard the name Grace, and
Yeah.
then David said she was my wife. He was like, Mom, you're my
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah.
So I don't know what has been said.
Ivy really vets out what she's about to do apparently because she found the perfect man to blackmail.
I'm sick of Ivy. Actually, let's talk about her. I'm sick of her right now. She's getting on my nerves. Ugh. So, uh, John asks to go see Grace. David's like, sure, let's go see the Bennetts, right? So,
I'm sorry,
they,
I made myself laugh in my head. I was like, you see her rolling, you hating.
I am hating. I am hating. She is riding dirty. She
She
is riding
is.
dirty. Trying to catch me riding dirty, bitch. We caught you riding dirty. You're riding
Mm-mm.
dirty for sure.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's real dirty. She got dirt on everybody in town. So, Ivy decides to go to the Bennett house as well. So John and David go there first, and they're in talking to Grace and Sam. And David says to John, you're gonna have to go back to school soon. You can't stay here. And then David makes the announcement, and I'm leaving Harmony as well, which perks Sam right up. Sam's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Need help
Yeah.
packing?
He took his shirt off right there.
Yeah. He got so excited he had to get naked. No,
Listen.
he really was like, so he was like, oh really, oh wow. And David was like, yeah, I think it's about time for me to be moving on, right? Ivy shows up, ding dong, she shows up. And when she hears what David just said, because I don't know who said it to her, it was like, yeah, I think it was Sam, was like, yeah, David was just telling us that he's gonna be leaving Harmony. And she has a very strong reaction. She's like, no, you can't. But of course she covers it by saying that, John
You
just met his mother. He
just
can't leave
reunited. Yeah.
soon. Yeah. So that's when, and so at this point things get a little bit mixed up, but don't worry about it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Louise arrives, and they talk about the Julian murder rumors. So this happens before all the cannery stuff.
Yeah.
So the two of them head out and do their thing, right?
Yeah.
Then Grace takes John to like look at some pictures of his half siblings, her
Yeah.
words, not mine.
Yeah.
And then Ivy very firmly, left alone with David, very firmly questions him, "What do you think you're doing?" And he tells her, "I'm leaving town. I'm not going to let you use my son. I'm tired of lying to my own son." And then of course she renews her blackmail of him. She's like,
Yeah.
"If you don't do what I tell you to do, your son's life will be destroyed as well as yours," right? Like
Yeah.
once I tell him whatever I have on you, which unfortunately, y'all, from the comments that I've gotten, because I've been asking, what did David do? What does Ivy have on David? Nobody has an answer. Like I've gotten like several comments at this point from people who are like, "Yeah, I don't remember them ever
Yeah.
revealing what that
I
was."
I don't remember. I don't remember, and I was hesitant to do a search just because I like that I don't remember some things, but
Yeah.
I'm like I really just don't remember, and
Yeah.
I didn't find anything. But
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing that people have said that doesn't ever get resolved,
yeah,
but whatever. What's new with Passions, right? Like, of course they often give us little storylines and never like take them to fruition, right? Like never
yeah,
bring them to, they never bear fruit. That's what I'm trying to say.
yes,
But anyway, yes, she tells him basically, "I'm blackmailing you. You can't do anything. You're gonna ruin both of y'all's lives."
yeah.
And
She
then
says Grace is the perfect mother. I don't understand why you're throwing this opportunity away.
yeah, this is the part which annoyed me about Ivy. This
Yeah,
really annoyed me this week with Ivy,
yeah,
because she starts to talk to him like, John will never find out, because David's whole thing is, what if my son finds out that Grace isn't really his mother? He's going to be
yeah,
devastated. It's going to be my fault, right?
yeah,
Ivy keeps saying to him, how would he know? How could he know? The
yeah,
only two people who know are you and me, and I'm not going to say anything. Right? Like, as long as you keep your mouth shut, you can have everything. Your son can have a loving mother. You can get Grace back, and I can have Sam. What's the big deal? She says, "What's the big deal?" My
How
God.
could he know?
My God. This woman.
Yeah, the audacity.
I'm sorry, because I do like Ivy, again, as a character, right?
Yes. Oh, I love Ivy. Yes.
But how flippant she is about this man and his son, and lying to Grace about this child being her son, considering how fucking crazy she is when it comes to Ethan, is nuts to
Yes.
me. Like,
Yeah.
she knows better.
And
She
it's
knows.
hard. It is heartless too, because this is the woman who is trying to blame Theresa for Grace losing the baby, whereas now you are foisting this young man onto this woman who is already missing a child and now has a child. Like that is devilish. I mean,
Yeah,
it really is malevolent.
yeah, but you know what? Now that I think about it, now that I actually think about it a little bit further and have like spoken these words out, this is like Ivy's whole thing, her MO,
It's
passing
her
off some
MO. Yes,
child,
it is.
passing off a child as somebody else's. Right? Like, this is like the one thing she's like an expert at doing, right?
Yeah, this is yeah. She's really, you are absolutely correct. What a great realization.
Actually, this is
Bravo.
like her go-to like super move, her
Yeah.
combo move, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, she's like, nobody's gonna know. Who's gonna know? As long as you don't tell him, as long as I don't tell him, there's no way anybody will ever find out. But as we know,
You sounded like the TikTok.
the
Who's gonna
who's gonna
know?
know? I
They're
do it all
they're
the time,
gonna
but
know.
I'm always like, nobody's gonna understand this
No,
reference.
that
Like,
was no, I got it right away.
I'm glad. Who's gonna know?
They're gonna know.
Who's gonna know? How would they know? Yeah.
How would they know
If
if
he's
he's
really
really
her
your
son,
mom?
how will I know? She won't know. Bless her heart. So Anyway, David relents because, of course, he fucking relents.
Yeah.
But he then accuses Ivy of murdering Julian. He's like, shows her this picture that he developed of her staring daggers at him.
Yeah.
But it's not really good evidence considering he has a bunch of other pictures of other people staring
Everybody
daggers
doing it.
at Julian.
Everybody's looking at Julian ugly.
Yeah. And she tells him, she denies it and tells him to worry about his own problems.
Mm-hmm.
Because you
Mainly
have many.
me.
Exactly. Worry about this problem right here, not my problems. Worry about me as your problem. So anyway, they have some back and forth. David reluctantly agrees to stay in Harmony, and he gives John the good news and tells John he can transfer to a local school, whatever school that is.
Okay, yeah. And we find out even Ivy helps. She says, "I know the dean. I'll make sure that you get a good word." Blah 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 blah. Can I tell you this moment? I laughed so hard, and I hope you're here with me because at this point, John and Grace have been having a conversation, and we find out that John's really good at school. And David says, "Yeah, actually, he was valedictorian of his class." And she's like, "I didn't know you were such a good student." And he's like, "Yeah, actually, I am." He's like, "And in fact, maybe soon, I'll be able to help Kay when she goes to college." To which I promise you, it felt like this. Grace basically is like, well, yeah, Kay's a bitch.
She basically,
Yeah,
was just like, yeah, Kay's a bitch and she's kind of dumb. I don't know if she'll ever go to college.
but Jessica and Charity want to go to college. I am like, now I remember watching this and being like, how can Kay be so mean to her mother? And when I saw this, Kay, go get her, girl. Like,
Yeah.
I go get her because she basically was like, yeah, Kay used to be a good student and now she's lost right now. But Jessica and Charity, they're good. They want to go to college, so you can
Babe,
help them.
you could help them. Oh my, she
It was
sucks.
bad. It was bad. I laughed
Yeah.
so hard. But
Yeah.
she really did give it with this cadence of like, yeah, I don't know. Kay's kind of a bitch, but Jessica and Charity, well, they'll be good. Yeah.
Ugh, yeah. It was funny, but it was also very telling
Oh
of
yeah.
how Grace
Hmm.
actually feels about her daughter.
Yeah.
So yes, he's gonna be going to the he's staying in town. He's gonna go to the local school, whatever that is. I didn't even know there was I didn't even know there was a university in this town. You
Yeah.
know? Now all of a sudden it's a college town. Fine.
Harmony Institute of Technology. South Harmony Institute of Technology. Shit.
You can go to the online school of Harmony. It's just Reese and his Palm Pilot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
So anyway, they then get a report. They hear a report over the radio about Julian Crane possibly being murdered. The
Yeah.
report is that Julian is missing and that there are rumors swirling that he has been murdered. Do you have any more to add to this little bit of storyline? Because I'm ready to move on to Sheridan and Louise.
So this all was murder and magic. I'm just gonna say at some point Timmy did tell Tabitha, "Hey, little angel girl told me Charity and I are connected. We have our lives are intertwined. We're basically Romeo and Juliet." And I think that that is something that I'm going to keep tracking because it is going to be important eventually. And
Yeah.
so, and then of course Tabitha's just like, "I don't want to hear about that girl. Like, this is hogwash. You're not going to fall in love." She basically repeats all that stuff, but I did want to just point that out in this
Yeah, because they said it
section.
last week too that the little angel girl told them. Well, he was like Romeo and Juliet, and she
Yeah.
goes, "I mean, kinda." I hate that bitch. I do not like her at all. She's the real villain.
Yeah.
She's the real villain. Can't do anything. Not helping.
Yeah.
Not doing anything. But anyway.
Do you know, if I recall correctly, I do think my mom was not a fan of the little angel girl or Father Lonigan. And it's funny to me because as a Catholic, I would think that she'd be like on their side, but I don't. It's because of, anyway, we don't want to make this episode long. We
No,
can do this
we
another.
can
Yeah.
get. Who cares? Whatever.
Well, just Father Lonigan and Little Angel Girl do not help as much as they should be helping. Like,
I've been saying since Father Lonigan showed up in like episode 35. I can't
Yeah.
remember what episode. It was a long time ago though.
yeah.
I remember he showed up. Laura was like excited to see him, and I had to tell her, I was like, girl, he's the worst, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, Father Lonigan is the most frustrating character on this show because he knows
Yeah.
everything and says nothing. He
Yeah.
knows everything and helps at zero.
Yeah.
Zilch. He shows up and blesses a few things from time to time.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, no. Father Lonigan's such a maddening character, but this angel bitch is worse because she actually has powers, and we've seen her use her powers to do different things, but it's like sometimes she can use them and sometimes she can't,
And
right?
knows the future too. She knows what's coming. So,
Yeah, she
yeah.
sucks. Sorry, off on a tangent. Let's talk about some more people who suck.
Yeah.
Antonio. So Antonio and Diana, my God. So after Julian has been shot, we pick up with this group of people. Antonio has been shot. I'm sorry, not Antonio.
You wish he was shot.
There's a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
After Julian is shot, Liz finds Diana like walking back to the boat, and Diana tells her like, I don't know where I was, why I was doing that. She says, I think I was sleepwalking. But the
Yeah.
craziest thing, while I was sleepwalking, I saw someone as if I had killed them. It was
Yeah.
so weird. And then Brian or Antonio walks up too, and Liz questions him like, where were you? And he's like, mind your business, nosy
Yeah.
ass bitch.
Yes, I wrote. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wrote this down. She said, he's like, where have you been? Are you okay? Like, she's just checking in, and she's like, this is a little, but she does get accusatory because she's like, you smell like fish. Like, what's, and again, I can't stop laughing at everybody smelling like fish. But he goes, did I ever tell you you're a nosy lady?
Yeah.
If I were Liz, I'd have been like, you know what? As soon as we get back to St. Lisa's, your ass is out. Out because
Oh,
you're not talking to me
please.
like that.
Oh, please. She flew all the way over here just to see him.
I
Like,
know, I know.
she's, I'm sorry. Liz is pathetic. I'm
Liz is
sorry.
pathetic, but later on in the series, she's gonna have a lot of gumption towards other people,
But
not this guy.
it all stems from the most pathetic place possible.
Yep.
Like all of her shit comes from the most, and let me not. I know a lot of you already know what Liz's like story is, so I
Yeah.
don't want to like make light of what has happened
Yes.
to
Yes.
Liz
Yes. Yes.
because
There's a lot.
there's some stuff that was very horrific, but a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff, spoiler alert, that she goes up with Eve against, like she goes up against Eve a lot, like Eve
Of
is
course, because
Eve
all
is
the black
the
characters have to be connected to each other, so that's the
right.
first thing.
Yeah, like so Eve is like the target for all of her like vitriol and anger and like all of her schemes and all of her plotting and shit. And that all of that is so unwarranted.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yep.
all so pathetic. It
Exactly.
really is. But anyway, Liz is taking disrespect from Antonio as she often does. And she then brings Antonio up to speed about Diana's like nightmare. Diana said that she had a nightmare about a man she loved killing someone, right? The man she loved killing someone. Of course, she's thinking of Luis, not Antonio. But anyway, um, basically Antonio tells Liz that she's a crazy lady, that she needs to mind her business. And then he tells Diana that she's crazy too. He's like, your mind's just working overtime because you've been trying so hard to remember your past. Like, we just need to get out of here. It bothered me because she's been having flashes of like her memories, and she's acting like, she bothered me here too because she's acting like she didn't remember anything. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're having more flashes. She even comments on how she's been having more flashes since she's been in Harmony, but no, everything just didn't come rushing back to her, which is why she's upset or frustrated.
Yeah.
But they're taking that to mean that she has no connection to Harmony whatsoever.
And it's annoying because you would think, again, all I know about amnesia is what I've seen on soap operas and television, but you would just assume that at some point she would slowly maybe get her memory back. Why are we defaulting into she's never going to remember who she is? Like, wouldn't you take anything she says and be like, oh, maybe you did? Like, how come you believe that because it's a matter of convenience. Oh, that asshole. He is okay to believe that the ex-lover is dead, but he won't believe anything else.
Yeah. That's a excellent point.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. He won't believe anything else that comes out of her mouth except for she remembers her ex lover dying or the love of her life dying.
Yeah.
That's it. But everything else, when she talks about gazebos, when she talks about the word harmony, when she talks about having seen the wharf before, when she talks about feeling like she had been at the mansion before, like
Yeah.
she went to several places in this town and had like these flashes where the place where she was like, I've seen this in my memories. And
Yeah.
for some reason, we've
Yeah.
decided, instead of saying, oh, Sheridan is putting bits and pieces together and she's not getting everything, but she is getting these little bits and pieces. And
Yeah.
yes, harmony is the clue. Instead of doing that, they've decided, yes, she's getting these bits and pieces, but they mean zilch. They mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate it. And Antonio's more than happy to make her feel like she what she's remembering is just her mind working overtime. That's what he says to her. You've just been working so hard trying to remember your past that your mind's working overtime, and you just think you remember these things. You just think that you just want to remember so badly that you just believe that you have a connection to this place when you don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, Diana then questions some about where he was. Oh, she questions him about where he was. He tells her he doesn't want to talk about it. Not tonight, not now, not ever.
And they both smell like fish.
Yeah, he shuts that conversation down altogether. Again, just a lot of like questioning Antonio. Liz questions him. Diana questions him again. It's just a lot of, and him shutting them down basically about his family and stuff. And then Antonio says, you know what? We're getting out of this town ASAP. I'm going to take these keys to the person that I need to take them to. And we're going to leave. We're going to get a flight out of here. So Liz goes off to like get them all flights, 4 tickets, her, Doc, because remember, Doc's there for whatever reason. So Liz, Doc, Sheridan, and Antonio, Liz goes and buys them plane tickets. Liz is the one that buys the tickets. Annoying. But anyway, she goes off to do that. And Diana and Antonio go to like return the keys. So Diana wasn't going to go at first, but Antonio was like, yeah, I'm going to go return these keys. The guy that I have to take them to is actually my brother. And when she found that out, she was like, oh, you're going to see your brother? I want to go meet him because I want to give him a piece of my mind and tell him what a jerk he is for not taking you back into the family.
I know. It's really annoying. And again, it's very difficult because it's like we're getting glimpses of our old Sheridan in there, like a take charge kind of person. But I hate that it's misdirected at this this story that basically Antonio made up about okay, here's the other thing. I was not here for this, and I do want to set this record straight. It really upset me, and LeTara and I got to talk about this, and I needed to say this on here. I am mad at Luis for, well, you know what? I'm going to keep it for... Luis talks to his little brother at some point, and I'll save it for that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff going on, but Brian just making it like blaming the situation or not even like explaining nuances like I left, it's my fault. Yeah, he does do that, but he makes it very like they shunned him. And it's like they didn't shun you, you left.
I said it last time. I think it was last week or maybe the week before when he broke Pilar's fucking window. And then ran off and was like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have come home. Huh? Yeah. What are you talking about? Because they thought you were an intruder, which you were?
Yeah.
And nobody saw your face and you didn't make your presence known and you didn't say, hey, it's me, Antonio. If you had done that, nobody would have been attacking you.
Yeah, well, I guess I can talk about this because we're kind of in like Luis and I think
for sure.
At some point, Luis and Miguel have a moment together, which I actually really enjoyed because I was like, I rarely see these two brothers have a conversation with each other, like an actual conversation, and they're kind of comparing notes about things that have happened. So basically, Miguel is like, yeah, Charity wants to fuck everything that that she sees now, but not me. And this is me summarizing because this is not the conversation that they had, but basically that's what it is. And so then he also points out, like, well, Luis is like, well, I got to tell you something too. Antonio was here and I told him to leave. And Miguel is very upset by this, and I'm grateful to. And so this is where I wasn't able to chime in on now, and I'm really upset. I know Pilar, like, if I did that to my mom would forgive me, but she would never let me forget it. That is bullshit. That was not his choice to make. And it's just so annoying to me because it's, again, this Latino thing in me is just like, my mom would always be like, stuff between us is between us. And I, like, I just, the amount of hurt like that she has had. She lights a candle for this guy every day, and you said no. I don't want you to hurt her. She's already hurting, bro. Like, it just, that whole storyline, it ate at me. And so when he talked to Miguel about it, I was like, oh, good, I get to talk about it on here. It really upset me.
And I agree with you 100%. And on top of that, with this whole caveat of, oh, I don't want mama to get hurt. How do you think she's going to feel when, and I do mean when, Antonio finally catches up with her and
Yeah,
tells her, yeah, I've talked to Luis multiple times, but he kept it from you.
yeah,
How do you think she's going to feel about that? Won't that hurt her? Do you
yeah,
think that won't hurt her?
yeah,
Right? Like he is so thoughtless and selfish in this moment. He's being extremely selfish.
yeah.
He's letting his own hurt. He's letting his own hurt guide him, right?
Hmm.
And it's not fair to Pilar at all. Even though I got some choice words for Pilar this week too.
Okay. I'm interested to hear what happens.
Pilar has been on my list for a little while
No,
now.
I
I'm sick
might
of her
defend
too.
her. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm sick of her too. So anyway,
You're about to get into your Rebecca Pilar pronunciation.
I will never get into that. But I got some things to say. Frey comes from a loving place, a place of
Yes,
love
yes,
for
I know,
Pilar.
I know.
But girl, come on. Okay, so anyway, these two idiots, Antonio, Diana, they go to the police station where there's a rookie cop. Ah!
And again, you all said this, but it is so annoying because you know full well you call America's princess. Sheridan Crane could not step foot in Harmony without somebody recognizing her. Somebody from the Lobster Shack, somebody from the Love Noodle place, somebody from anywhere could have just been like, was that Sheridan Crane?
Sheridan Crane has been walking around this fucking town for over a week. They showed up on Christmas Eve. It is now New Year's Day.
Yeah.
She has been walking around this town for a week. So then they put this rookie cop. They make a whole big deal about Luis had never seen him before. So, of course, nobody knows him and he doesn't know anybody else in town, I guess.
And he's a bumbling mess. He's dropping papers. They just, yeah, they really
Yeah.
milk it.
So there's a rookie cop there. This cop has told Luis, some guy called for you. But he didn't say who he was or what he wanted. And Luis like goes back and forth with this guy, like, oh, okay, did that guy call back yet? You know, we do a lot
Yeah.
of that. And then Luis finally is like, well, I gotta go because now I gotta go do this murder investigation at the
Yeah.
cannery, right? So Diana and Antonio, of course, show up to the station just as Luis leaves. They do this thing where they make it seem like, oh, maybe he'll come back, but he won't. He won't ever.
Near
So
misses, near misses, near misses.
they then sit at Luis's fucking desk. They sit at his desk where he's got two pictures of Sheridan.
Wouldn't you investigate? Like, you are talking about how much I can't wait to give this asshole a piece of my mind. Wouldn't you sit at the desk and be like, ain't nobody paying attention? Nobody's out solving murders. Nobody's doing anything there. You would think, why don't have a seat at the desk and see what he's up to? Look into his coming, like, might as well. You're there.
Maybe you don't sit at his desk, but what I will say is the way the pictures are positioned, they're positioned in such a way that if you're even standing, maybe if you're standing on this side of the desk, you wouldn't necessarily be able to see
Yeah.
exactly what's there. But if you were just to turn this much, you would be able to see that
And
Sheridan's giant face.
wouldn't anyone's obvious curiosity just look and see what he had? This is the
Yeah,
guy that is your person's brother that is pissing him off. It's
They
so.
sit around, they drink
Ooh,
coffee.
what was the near miss that pissed me off the most was they make it look like Sheridan saw the picture and she's like, oh, I burned myself. She goes, oh, but she burned herself with the coffee.
With the
Is that what?
coffee. Who fucking cares? I just can't. Again, I looked it up when Luis and Sheridan actually see each other again. And it is in 2002. It
Okay,
is
so
in
we're
2002,
okay.
but it is in like November of 2002. Like it's the end of this year. So we just got to January. So we've got a long, long way to go before
Hey,
they see each other
I'm just gonna
again.
toot my own horn here and say that I was able to make the blum blum noise to Mackenzie Westmore.
Yeah, you
So
did. She cracked up. She loved it. It was funny. Um,
But
okay,
yeah,
so
we won't get a blum blum until November. Got it. Got it. Noted.
ugh, oh gosh. And even then, she's like married to Antonio at that point. Or like they're about to be married or some
Yeah.
bullshit. But anyway, whatever. These two go to the station and wait around. They don't ever meet up with Louise. They just end up giving the keys to the rookie. Louise then comes back to the station, gets the keys from the rookie, and then is like, oh my goodness, I just got that feeling that Sheridan's nearby. And then he makes the leap to a beautiful woman, because I guess that rookie told him that a beautiful woman brought the keys. I didn't
Yeah.
hear him say that at all.
Yeah.
But Luis is like, maybe it was Sheridan who sailed the boat back.
Yeah.
And so he runs to the dock to get and goes to the boat. He knocks on the boat. Where Sheridan is,
Yeah.
she's on that boat right
Yeah.
at when he's there. Liz comes out. So then he has a conversation with Liz. Who cares?
Again, again, it's another like, oh my God, it's you, and it's Liz. Yeah,
I simply cannot.
it's very frustrating. He finally does walk away, and then Liz is like, because they talk about a beautiful woman, a beautiful woman. So I thought this beautiful woman might have been my fiance because I can't convince myself that she's dead. So he walks away, and it's when Liz is like, is it possible? Is Diana actually Luis's dead fiance?
Yeah. Well, and she doesn't know his. Oh, well, she does know his name. And I was confused about that too, but they cleared it
She
up.
finally did. She
Yeah.
knows his name is Luis because she also tells Brian or Antonio. She says, "Oh yeah, your brother was just here."
One thing that does not ever happen is that nobody ever says the name Luis in front of Diana.
Yeah,
What's his name keeps saying, Antonio keeps saying my brother, and at one
yeah,
point he replaced where the word Luis absolutely should have been, like the sentence structure called for saying someone's name, and he put the word brother there. And I was just like, oh my God, this stupid show. So yeah, she starts, Liz has like an inkling that maybe that Luis and Diana were each other's long lost loves, basically,
yeah.
right? But yeah, Antonio calls her an idiot. He calls her a dumb bitch. He's just like, you dumb bitch.
It's so aggravating.
It
It's
really
so
is.
aggravating.
He's like, well, riddle me this, stupid bitch. Didn't my brother say that his fiance was dead and that they had to cremate her? Da da da. And Liz is like, oh yeah, you're right. I am a stupid bitch.
I cannot. Okay, I missed you so much. I missed this so much. My mouth hurts from laughing and smiling too much this whole episode.
It's been fun so far. I was saying to you before we started that there's like it's a lot of recap, but there's a lot to talk about. Like, and I'm
Yes.
excited about that because
Yeah.
the last few weeks has been like we have to get through all the action, and so we
Yes.
can't like just play and give our
Events
like
are settling
opinions.
down now. Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
the dust is settling, so we're able to like analyze everything.
Yeah. Well, this group of people get on their plane and they get on a plane back to Bermuda. It
Yes.
hasn't taken off yet, so maybe it'll be delayed and maybe there'll be something.
Yeah.
But um, you see
Oh, I
that?
saw that little angel girl. Little. Little angel adult.
Oh my God. She's come to get her revenge on me.
She heard what you said. Just in case you didn't hear it. I mean, no, there was a flash above LeTara, so
The lights are flickering in my
yeah,
apartment.
you have a poltergeist.
Okay. God, I hope, please, because you know we had an earthquake here.
That is right.
Yeah, so
Were you worried your place is going to get sucked down?
I sucked down into hell.
Yeah.
No, it was weird. It was honestly, it was so weird, and I had a moment afterwards where I realized when I die, I'm probably gonna die laughing because I was cracking up. Like, what the fuck is going on? I was laughing so hard. Tears were coming down my face. I was just like, what is happening? And it was so funny because me and my niece were just like standing there looking at each other like, what do we do?
Yeah. Listen, I'm so happy to hear that because I'm the same way. A long time ago, I had like this weird heart thing happen to me where my heart was beating abnormally. And so we went to the emergency room and I kept making jokes the entire time and it drove my mom absolutely crazy. She's like, if you don't act sick, they're not going to think you're sick. And I'm like, my last words are not going to not be funny.
Right?
Yeah, because at one point this girl's like, what were you doing when your heart started to flutter like that? I was like, were you watching anything particularly exciting? I was like, I was watching the Real World Road Rules Challenge.
And that was like, very challenging. It was very exciting.
She was like, and did you find that particularly exciting? And
Coral was cussing somebody out.
So I was like, I don't want to talk about what I'm watching in front of my mom. And then my mom's like, will you please be serious? So anyway, that was like one of the many things that I said that day, but I'm okay. It was a weird thing that happened a long time ago.
Well, I'm glad you're still
yes,
alive.
I'm happy you survived the New York earthquake.
Well, listen, now since we're off on this tangent anyway, the reason I said that I would probably die laughing is because that was not the first time that something fucking crazy was happening to me and I was just laughing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell y'all my favorite one, which is that I went swimming and went to the beach. Me and Laura and one of our friends went to the beach. This was like maybe 4 years ago. And no, it was pre-2020, so it might have been 5 years. We went to the beach. And this particular day, it was like the end of summer. So like the undertow at the beaches here, like it gets really bad. Well, we were being pulled out to sea. Like we were being pulled out. And I'm a really strong swimmer and Laura is too. And our friend is a good, strong swimmer too. But I was terrified, but I was laughing so hard. I was swimming the hardest I've ever swam in my life, just trying to get back to the shore. And I was laughing. I thought I was going to die though. I really was like, this is it? This is how I die? And I thought, well, there are worse ways to die. I love the beach, but the lifeguard had to come out. He didn't get me. I made it in. But the lifeguard came out, had to help Laura and my friend. And a lot of people had to be saved by the lifeguards that day. We didn't get back in the water. It was crazy. It was crazy because we didn't even realize how far we had gone. And then the water, and it just was pulling us further and further out. And we just couldn't, no matter how hard I swam, I felt like I was going absolutely nowhere. And I got to shore and looked back. I mean, I was cracking up. I thought they were behind me. So I was laughing once I finally got to the back. I turned around, they're still way out in the water. I was like, oh my fucking God, my best friend's gonna die today. And that's when I stopped laughing. When I turned around and it wasn't that I was gonna die. It was funny when I was gonna die.
It's a calming mechanism. It's a defense mechanism. I totally get that. I will say that as you told that story, I did play the Passions tragic, like scary music that happens when there's like something like a blizzard playing in my head. So I saw you like swimming and I was like dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, so good. That's basically what it was like. That's basically what it was like. Okay, back to this show. Antonio, they get on the plane. Fuck off. Thank you. Thanks for fucking off.
Yeah.
So now, y'all, it's time to get into Theresa, Ethan, Gwen, and I have plenty to say this week. So strap on in, y'all. We still got probably another hour to go. Sorry about it. Okay. So, in the midst of all the Julian stuff at the mansion, Ethan asks to talk to Theresa about like all the things, like what had gone on with Julian and what he had done to them. And she
Yeah.
says to him, I can't right now. Honestly, fair enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just let's all take a breath right now. So then the next morning, Theresa wakes up thinking like, she thinks everything was just a nightmare. She's like, oh my God, mama, I had the craziest dream, the most horrible
So
dream.
sad. So sad.
And then Pilar explains to her that it was not a dream, and she shows her the tabloid with the headline Theresa pregnant with Julian Crane's baby, or Theresa Lopez
Yeah.
Fitzgerald pregnant with Julian Crane's baby. Theresa gets very upset, of course. That's par for the
Yeah.
course of our girl. She gets very upset. She's upset with herself, though. She says that everybody warned me, and she apologizes. Oh, and at this point, it's in the room. It's Pilar, Miguel, and
Luis.
They're having a family meeting, okay?
Yeah.
Basically, they're having a family meeting. We don't ever get all of them in the same
I was
room.
very impressed by that this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that they were trying to like before Theresa woke up, they were like, we got to be there for her. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, everybody reconvene. And they were like, there for her. But
yeah, and she apologizes to them. She tells them, I'm so sorry I let you all
Yeah.
down. She says, I think Luis says to her, like, it's gonna be okay. Or it might have been Miguel. You're gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. And she says, no, I won't be okay. Not without Ethan. I've lost him for good this time. And then she talks about how she's like, I lied about something that's so awful. It's unforgivable. And I brought shame on our household. Dishonor on
Yeah.
you, dishonor on your cow. Do you remember that from Mulan?
yes.
Dishonor on your whole family. So that's basically the speech she gives. She's like,
Yeah.
I've shamed all of you. I've shamed our entire family. Luis tells her, we love you and we will always love you. He's like handling this with a lot of tenderness.
That meant a lot to me. That to me, I just could hear my brother being like, hey, it's all good. We're going to get through this. I got you. And he's like, there's nothing you can ever do that's going to make me not love you, which is what we wish she would have had in her head a long time ago. But here we are.
The thing is, she doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know if she.
And I don't blame her either for that, but like, I wish she knew it. I don't blame her for having those feelings because Luis gets hot-headed. He does do that.
And yeah. So, she continues to spiral, even though he's handling this with like
despair.
tenderness. She continues to spiral. She says, I've disgraced you. I've disgraced all of you. I wouldn't blame you if you hated me. And he says, I could never hate you. You're my sister. And I will always love you no matter what. Miguel then pipes up and he's like, yeah, and it's not your fault. It's Julian Crane's fault. He's a pig and he doesn't deserve to live. And Luis makes a quick like throwaway comment like, well, we'll never see him again, which it just plays into the who shot Julian, thing. And then he covers it by saying, hopefully he's gone from Harmony for good. If he ever shows his face back here again, he'll probably get himself killed.
Yeah.
During all of this, so Theresa starts to feel better, I guess, at least. During all this, Ethan is like out on a park bench and is still in his tuxedo. He didn't go home. He was up all night. And he contemplates all of the events of the night before, and he's talking about how he's so confused. And he's looking at a picture. At first he's looking at a picture of Theresa, and then he looks at a picture of Sheridan and he talks to it and he's like, she was my best friend.
I miss you. I wish I could gasp for your advice. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, like you would know exactly what to do. And then Liz shows up. This was tacitly absurd.
Yeah.
Liz shows up. He's standing at the water's edge, like the wharf.
Yeah.
Like at the railing, basically. And Liz finds him there. She looks at him. She stands a little, maybe 5 feet away from him, but she kind of looks at him, says good morning to him.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you look like something's bothering you. And then he just unleashes everything on this lady.
typical Harmony Citizen fashion on Passions, he word vomits the entire situation. And I will say, I mean, can you imagine telling a stranger, my fiance is now pregnant with the guy who I thought was my father's baby? To which Liz appropriately just goes, ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he told her the whole sordid tale. He
Yeah.
told her everything.
Yeah.
It's wild. And it's also funny how they managed to like boil down. And I mean, anybody could do it, but they boiled down basically like 150 episodes into like those 3 sentences,
In a
right?
segment. Yeah, in one segment with Liz. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he talks about how he had lost his best friend. So he's talking about Sheridan. And he drops those 2 pictures. And Liz picks them up. Well, she picks up one of the pictures, of course. Of course, you can guess which one she picked up.
Yeah.
It was Theresa, not Sheridan. Yeah. She picks up the picture of Theresa, and at first she goes, "Oh my God," and you think, "Oh, maybe." No, of course not. She picks up the one of Theresa, and she says, "Oh my God, she's stunning." Which, you know what? If I would also be like, if I saw that picture, I'd be like, "Yeah, oh my God," I'd be like, "Oh my God."
Oh yeah.
And so he talks to her about Theresa some more, you know, and she's like, "Is this your fiance that you were talking about?" Da da da. And so they talk a little bit more, and she basically just kind of gives him some words of encouragement. That's as far as it goes. It was like he told all that to Liz for our benefit, right?
Yes,
to
so we
like
could
recap
like
to
how
this.
is Ethan feeling? Because Ethan can't really talk to anybody about this without being swayed or without being manipulated. So
Yeah.
we get to hear from him.
And who else does he have
stranger.
to talk to about it, right?
Exactly.
Like, who else could he recap this information to who doesn't already know the whole story,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everybody was at the party last night. So, I'm so sorry. So anyway, meanwhile at the house, okay, so this is where things get a little sticky with me and Pilar. Okay? Meanwhile at the house, Theresa is like upset. She's moping around. "I've lost Ethan forever. It's done. We're done for good this time." Remember that is where Theresa's head is. That's what she's saying. She's saying, "We're done for good. Ethan's never going to forgive me. It's over. It really is over." She is upset, but she's using the words of acceptance, right?
Yeah.
Which we don't often hear from Theresa. And then Pilar like hugs Theresa and tells her, "You know, I once had a daughter who believed in the impossible, and she would make things happen in spite of the odds. Nobody believed that you and Ethan would end up together, but you proved everyone wrong." And she says, "You're a strong, determined woman." And she says, "This is not the time for you to give up on your dreams." And then she tells her to fight for her love, fight for Ethan. So Theresa decides to fight for her love. She decides to fight for Ethan. Great. Wonderful. I agree with what Pilar said, honestly. I was like,
okay,
I'm on board here I'm on board, right?
So I just want to paraphrase what I wrote as like that section. I just put Pilar basically is like, "Hey, Teresa, where is my lovable lunatic? Where is she?" Right? That's what she said. That's basically what she said.
That's
She's
basically
like,
what she
"Where
said.
is that lovable lunatic that we've seen for over 600 episodes?
Yeah,
Come on out."
Come on, Looney Tune. You can't let one little secret knock you down, baby.
One little secret.
One little secret knock you out of the game? Nah, that's not my girl. You're right. That's exactly what Pilar was saying to her.
Yeah.
So at this point, Ethan shows back up to the house after having had this conversation with Liz, right? So we're all thinking, well, maybe he's here to talk to Theresa. She thinks the same thing.
Yeah.
He shows up. She hugs him. She says, "I'm so glad you came back. I know we can work through this. Fate really wants us to be together. Fate wants us to have a future together." While she's like spewing all of these things at him, he just like calmly walks over to the closet. He doesn't say a word to her. He calmly walks over to the closet, gets out his suitcase, and starts to pack it. And she's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm packing." She's like, "Oh, I mean, of course you are. You probably can't stay here, but we're still together, right?" Like,
Yeah.
She was in denial.
Yeah.
He finally told her what was what. He says, "What you did will have a lasting consequence on both of our lives, and it's never going to go away, right?" And he rehashes all the things, that we already know. You married my used to be daddy and you got pregnant. But he finishes it off with, "And you got an abortion, which I can never forgive." Pause, break right the fuck there. Because last week at the party, he was saying to her, "Oh, this was my fault. You got the abortion because of me." Like, he was really nice to her about it. Like, to
Yeah.
be clear, he was very much like, "Oh my goodness, I feel so terrible. You must have been under such incredible pressure."
Yeah.
Like, but now it's, "I can never you got an abortion and that's something I can never forgive." That was never brought up at the mansion, right?
Yeah.
He truly, I was honestly, this is the reaction I was expecting at the mansion. But now it seems like he gave the more thoughtful response when he was at the mansion, and now he's just saying bullshit,
Yeah.
right? Talking points. "You got an abortion and I could never forgive that." Piss me off.
Yeah.
And then she says to him, "Well, I didn't go through with it. I didn't have the abortion."
So we now know that yeah.
Yeah, and then we get a lot of anti-choice rhetoric about it
Yeah.
being a baby. It's not an it, whatever.
Yeah.
All that matters is that she did not get the abortion.
Exactly.
And she says to him, "I knew that our love was so strong that we could raise this baby together. I thought about our love and I couldn't go through with it." She says, "I love you, Ethan, and I'm sorry for everything I've done, but you still love me, don't you?" And he says to her, "Yes, Theresa, I still love you, but it's not enough. And it doesn't change the fact that you lied to me over and over and over again. I simply cannot trust you. What's a marriage without trust?"
Yeah.
He says, "You should have trusted me. You should have given our love a chance, but you didn't. Look at what your lives have done. Look at what your lies have done to both of our lives."
Mm.
And he says, "Our relationship is over forever." Okay.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. He says, "Goodbye, Theresa," and he leaves, right? She's upset, and I of course I pared that down. There was a
There's
lot
a
of back
lot.
and forth,
Yeah.
but most of it was her, like, kind of begging him
Yeah.
and getting him, just saying, "But you love me, but you love me," and that's the part that keeps sticking in her head. That shit
Yeah,
sticks in
because
her
that's what he
craw.
started. He's like, I do love you, and again, it's truthful. It's like, yeah, I do love you, but I cannot bounce back from these lies. Like,
Teresa Teresa believes in, like, this very naive, very childlike, very simplistic idea that
mhm.
love conquers all, right?
Yes,
Like, if as long as we love each other, we can get through
yeah,
anything. And Ethan is trying to explain to her, "No, there's we need more than just love, specifically trust." And
yeah,
he is right, as much as I'm loath to say that Ethan is
yeah.
right ever. He is right. We need more than love, especially trust. This relationship is not going to work without trust.
And again, I mean, if we remember a rant that he had a while back, it's like everybody is lying to me. Like I mean, he's like, I have grown up in a house of lies. Like my
Yeah.
whole life has been a lie. So like he is definitely going to be very on high alert when it comes to trust and lying. And so that's where he's at right now. And he's like, I can't get past this.
Yeah. So let's quickly talk about what's going on at the mansion, so that we can bring Gwen
Oh,
into
gotcha.
this.
Yeah,
So at the mansion, Ivy is, like, looking at the tabloid. She's thrilled that Teresa's life is ruined. And then Gwen comes in and thanks her for letting her sleep over. She's like, "Thank you for letting me sleep over."
yeah.
And they have a conversation wherein Ivy tells Gwen to go get Ethan,
Yeah,
right?
she's like, we need to discuss your marriage with Ethan, which I was like, that's presumptuous. I mean, you don't even know that Ethan's not ready for nothing right now, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Life with Teresa or Gwen, like he needs, this is all fresh. And so it was really, and even Gwen's like, what are you talking about marriage? Like, and she even is like, the last I heard, you were very clear that you were on Teresa's side on this.
Yeah.
And again, Gwen was talking a lot of truth this week. I'm
Gwen,
gonna give her props.
yeah, no, Gwen this week, Gwen was far more palatable this week than
Yeah,
I think she's been in the past. She when she says that to Ivy, like, oh, last I checked, you were all Team Theresa
Yeah.
over me, and Ivy explains that was just because I thought that they had true love, and I didn't get to have true love in my marriage, and I just wanted to make sure that my son got that, and he
Yeah.
seemed to really love Theresa, but that was before I knew she was a lying slut.
Yeah.
And then we get a call back to because she says, Ivy says to Gwen, like, she lied to my son, not to mention she ruined his life and mine when she sent that thing to the tabloid. So
Yeah.
then Gwen, and this is important,
Yeah.
Gwen gets in her mind, we see like her flashback of the fact that she is actually the one, she and her
Yeah.
mother are actually the ones who sent that thing to the tabloid. She's starting to feel guilty about it.
Yes. Sincere guilt. This is not performative guilt. It's
Nope.
sincere guilt.
She's
Yeah.
sincerely feeling guilty about it. Um, so Ivy then tells her, yeah, even though I was on Theresa's side because I thought that my son truly loved her, I always thought that you were perfect for him.
Yeah.
And she says, go get your man, girl.
Yeah, and Gwen also is like, how is this gonna work? Like you and my mother hate each other, and Ivy's even like, you know what? That's between us. Like you need to go do this. She's like, let me deal with your mom. I'm fine. So she's got the go ahead. I mean, she's got a letter of recommendation from Ivy Crane.
Yeah.
So
Ivy says to her, I know that you would never lie or cheat to get Ethan.
there's
And
the guilt.
and Ethan loved you once. I know he can love you again. So that's where Ivy is, and I enjoyed this conversation. I felt like it was
Oh
important,
yeah.
and I felt like it was needed.
Yes.
And so Gwen says, you know what, you're right. I'm gonna go right over to Theresa's house right now, just in case she's trying to get her claws back into him. So she goes over to Theresa's house and she listens from the outside, and
She's
she hears the whole
eavesdropping.
conversation.
Yes.
Right? She hears that whole conversation where Ethan has broken up with Theresa. She watches him as he leaves, and as he's leaving, she sees how hurt he is and how upset he is, and she feels guilty. She says, this is all my fault. I never should have sent that thing to the tabloid, that letter to the tabloid. This is my fault.
And I'm happy that the writers gave her this three-dimensionality. Like for her to be like, I hurt him. He's hurting right now because of me. This is my fault. And it is all genuine. It's to herself, again, because classically, as you've pointed out, she acts to nobody again. So
Yeah.
there she is outside performing to nobody. But it is for her. She's just like, I hurt him. And it is sincerely like, I hurt the person I'm in love with. Like, this is who I am. This is what
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
She says, Ethan is in pain because of me. I'm no better than
Yeah.
Theresa.
Yeah.
I'm no better than
Yes.
Theresa. I agree. I
Yes.
agree. I agree. So, she goes off and to sit alone. She's sitting in the park by herself. Ethan sees her sitting alone and notices that she's upset. Asks her what's wrong, and she just tells him, it's nothing, don't worry about it. He's like, no, he badgers her about it until she finally says, it's just something I need to work out for myself. It's something that I regret and I wish never happened.
Yeah.
And then she tells him, by the way, I did overhear you breaking up with Theresa. She says, I hate seeing you in so much pain, but I have something I have to tell you.
In her defense, it sounds like she's about to tell him that she's the reason that he's not a Crane, that she's the one, her and her mother are the ones that sent that letter to the tabloids. And it does sound like she is 100% going to tell him.
Yep.
But in typical Passions fashion, he keeps stopping her and is like, I don't want to hear a word of this. I don't want to hear what you have to say. That's all in the past. I don't want to talk about this.
This irritated me so bad because it was about the things that. What irritated me the most is that Ethan simply never listens to the women in his life. He wasn't hearing what Gwen was actually saying to him, because if he was, he would have heard her out. He was filling in his own blanks, and that's why he was saying, like, no, I don't want. So basically, here's what happens. She says to him that, I need to get this off my chest, kind of thing. And sorry, She heard him breaking up with Theresa. Oh, she says, I have something to tell you. She says, when you broke up with me, I was just really hurt. I was so upset. And I prayed that you and Theresa would break up. And she says, now my prayers have been answered, but there's no joy in my heart because there's so much pain in yours. And she
Yeah.
says, I'm no good. I didn't deserve you then, and I certainly don't deserve you now. Okay, I'm listening. I am. Ethan's not, right? Like
Yes.
he and I get that he's like distracted too, but
Yes.
she's really bearing something to you. Maybe tune in.
Yeah.
And so she says that she's ready to be brutally honest with him. Those are the words.
And
She says,
again, it's all sounding like it's the Rebecca Gwen tabloid thing that's about to come out.
yes, she says, I'm ready to be brutally honest with you. I've done some horrible things. I've done some horrible things to you and Theresa.
How would you
Like,
not hear her? Well, I those are huge flags of like, okay, tell me one of them. Tell
I've
me something. Yeah. Let her
I've
say her
done
thing.
some I've done some terrible things to you and Theresa, and you don't decide. You don't ask a follow-up question.
Yeah. I do think, like you said, you want to give him some grace because he's distraught, he's distracted, but like again, he's heard all this, but it's frustrating because it's like everything's out in the open. Why wouldn't you want to know everything? You're tired of lies. Get the truth. She's trying to tell you something.
What irritated me is that he like gets upset with her. He
Yeah.
says to her, he says, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You didn't make Theresa lie to me. She did that all on her own.
Yep.
And then Gwen doubles the fuck down. Respect to Gwen. Because Gwen then says to him, well, maybe had I not interfered, Theresa wouldn't have been put in a position where she had to lie. He says it's not like Theresa didn't have a choice. She chose. We all have free will. She chose to lie to me. Don't you want to know what Gwen did
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the woman that you love? To the woman that you love.
Again,
Yeah,
this
but especially considering the magnitude of the lies that have been told at this point.
yeah.
Why? How is Gwen involved in first of all, the tabloid shit. Second of all, Julian and Theresa getting married. Third of all, the baby stuff. Like, and I'm not saying that she's involved directly. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But if these are the lies that were told, and Gwen
She
is
said she
telling,
has
and
one.
Gwen is telling you, she lied because of something I did.
Yeah.
Perhaps, I don't know. Who am I? Just some fucking bitch in Brooklyn. But perhaps you lean in and say, tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Tell me more. What the fuck did you do? Right? Perhaps. I don't know. I don't know.
Again, I just want to make it very clear. I'm giving Gwen a lot of props because she's like talking to a cactus. I mean, she's like literally like, "Hey, I'm gonna let you know what's going on. I need to tell you this." And he's like, "I don't want to hear it."
She's talking to a cactus. Oh my God. She is. She's talking to a cactus. This guy, there's nothing there, nothing upstairs.
And again, I think the sticking point that he says to her that gets her kind of to stop finally is he goes, "No matter what you did, you didn't force Theresa to lie to me." And I think that's the thing that makes Gwen go, "Okay." I mean,
She tried.
I tried.
She tried. I have to give her props. She tried. And honestly, at this point, if I'm Gwen, if I'm putting myself in Gwen's shoes, I also would give up. But I would have given up on Ethan entirely. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's just a lost cause.
Yeah.
But he finally tells her, I don't want to talk about Theresa anymore. And she says that she misses him, and he says to her, I missed you too as a friend.
Mhm. She's in the friend zone. She's in the friend zone.
And she says she just wants to be totally open and honest with him as they move forward in their friendship. They hug. He tells her, I really need a friend, an honest friend right now.
You got a friend in Gwen.
Yes, you do. You
You got a friend in Gwen.
Yes, you do. Oh, mm, yeah. So they're friends now, I guess. Which they never weren't friends,
Yeah.
but
They
she
had a
does talk
riff. There
about.
was yeah, there was obviously going to be tension because you know full well you don't like my fiance. I can't be cool with you. And she said some horrible vicious things about her in front of him. So like
Yeah,
there was not a falling out, but there was obviously not, it was not the same as it was once was.
yeah. So let's head back to the house. So after Ethan has left the house and Ethan has like told Theresa, it's over. Pilar, this is where shit gets sticky with me for Pilar.
I
With Pilar,
understand now that you set it up the way you did. I understand where you're coming from.
Pilar has a conversation with Theresa where she tells Theresa, you know what, you need to learn from this. Okay, fine, I agree, sure, I'm on board. And then she tells her, sometimes love isn't enough. And then she says, no, I mean, and let me be clear. Pilar is yelling at Theresa.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked by that. That was a very different choice.
I'm saying it very calmly. Pilar is yelling at
No,
Theresa.
she is yelling. Like,
because Theresa is like, I need to talk to Ethan. I need to explain again. Like, I don't think he understood, which is a fair point. Ethan doesn't understand a lot of things. Maybe you do. You have to explain shit to him 3 or 4 times before he gets it.
I said cactus earlier.
Cactus. He's a cactus. And that might be an insult to cacti, right? So, but Theresa wants to go find Ethan. This mother of hers.
And I will say I just need that LeTara's doing a really good job of trying to emphasize the volume, because she is yelling at like Ivy yelling speed, Rebecca, like Pilar yelling at Rebecca's speed. Like these are the way that she's like, you are like, it's I'm trying to say word from the word.
It was nasty. I couldn't even write it all down. It was actually very nasty.
Yeah,
she's
I wrote
yelling
some
at
of those
Theresa.
things. Yeah.
She tells her no other man. Let me find where I am in my notes. I'm sorry. Okay, she tells her no other man in the world would have stood by you as long as Ethan did after all that you've done. Yeah. She says there's only so much a man can take, Theresa. Theresa wants to go out and find Ethan, explain again. Pilar tells her, basically, you need to give up and respect Ethan's wishes. Take responsibility for you. She tells her to take responsibility for her actions, as if Theresa hasn't been taking responsibility. At this point, Theresa started this fucking day by saying, I've brought shame on this family. She started the day by fully and completely self-loathing herself, right? And for her mother, who by the way was the one that told her what happened to my lovable lunatic? You gotta fight for your love. Ethan said he still loves you. You have to fight for your love. And now 5 minutes later, you turn around and you pull this bullshit on Theresa. I hated this. It pissed me off so bad.
I agree with you. I'm gonna defend the actress. Just know we're not bashing the actress because we love her.
Yeah.
But it's the writing. It's really frustrating because how does she go from what I got lost in until you recapped what you saw versus what I wrote down. And again, I was in the middle of Walmart when I was watching that particular episode. So this is what really is upsetting me, is that one, at the very top of the episode, yes, she's saying something along the lines of like, I don't want you to lose your spunk. I don't want you to lose your ánimo in Spanish, like your what makes you go. And that's what I was very appreciative of, that is that's what it was. That's what I thought it was. Then when it gets to like, you need to leave him alone, what are you doing? That's mixed signals, because the writing is such that she's like, you need to go get your man, which is not what I thought she said. I thought she was just like, Teresita, don't lose your passion, don't lose your fire. That's what I thought she said, but she didn't. She basically did tell Theresa, like, don't give up. So now she's not giving up, and now she's getting reprimanded for that. And that's why I understand your frustration at Pilar at this point.
Mm-hmm. Pilar continues to yell at Theresa about lying. She tells her, you lied to Ethan. And then she goes, you weren't thinking about anybody or anything else. You were only thinking about yourself and how not to lose the man that you love. If you had thought for even a moment about Ethan's feelings, none of this would have ever happened. again, like, I don't know why we're stirring up all this old shit. Like, I mean, again, like, this was a conversation for last night, right?
Yes.
This was a
Yeah.
conversation. It's just, it's not that it's outside of the realm of possibility for Pilar. Actually, everything that Pilar is saying is nothing new
Well,
to this character, but it's just the way that it happened, the sequence in which the things happened pissed me off, is
thank
because
you.
you
Yes.
just told me, you just told the girl to fight for her love, and now you're yelling at her. And yes, we know she knows she lied. She already talked. She's been taking responsibility for that at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I
It
want
just
to.
bothered me.
Well, I want to thank you for pointing that out. I will say that I do think this is pretty online for me, at least. Like I can hear my mom saying a lot of the things that Pilar is saying. It's like these certain things that were like matter of fact, la mera neta, like she was saying, very like I need the bottom line is this.
Right.
So there are several things. One, she says something like, "I can't lose him. What if somebody steals him away from me?" To which Pilar says, "No one is going to steal Ethan from you because he is no longer yours." Which is hurtful. That was really, really hurtful. But she also says you got to be cruel to be kind, and you have to accept that Ethan is gone and he's not coming back to you. So these are some of these things that I'm like, okay, I could totally hear somebody being like, this is what it is. But it's what you're talking about is the series of events in which they were said that it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point, at the end of like Pilar's like tirade, she says
Yeah, and
to Theresa,
that's the correct word.
yeah, she says to Theresa, "You would have never been able to lie to the man that you love." What? Bitch, what? Everybody in this show lies to the person they love. Everybody. Every single person has
You
lied to
lied
the
to
person they
that boy,
love.
you helped raise him, and you lied to him all those years. I mean, like,
Hello? Hello?
and I love Pilar, but like, we're calling spades. I mean, like, I'm giving Gwen props. I'm gonna Pilar. You. This is. It is frustrating. I will
And
say, I wanted Teresa to get this messaging. I didn't want her to get it this way. After what you again pointed that she just got told by her mom, why are you acting like this? Why are you not going after him?
this all harkens back to what I said, I don't know, maybe 7 weeks ago. I don't know. The episode, I remember the episode was Pilar's the one, Pilar's the person who taught Theresa to be the liar that she is. I remember that was like, I think that
Yeah,
was one of the episode titles.
I laughed
Um,
really hard in the car when you said that.
because that is actually, we're seeing that in real time here. Not necessarily
Yeah,
the lying part, but the part where Theresa is so like her fucking mind, just seeing her swing from one extreme to the other now makes so much sense because
yeah,
Pilar is doing that to her,
yeah,
right? And Pilar is the person at the beginning of all this who was like, or not all of this, but this week, right? Who's telling her daughter, like, whatever happened to that plucky young girl? Like, go get your man. I thought it was fate, girl. Go get your
yeah.
man, right? It just frustrates me. We're done with this. I'm gonna finish this. Let's wrap this up, actually.
Yeah. Because yeah,
Yeah,
we
because
still
I
have,
can go on and on, but
yeah,
the bottom line is, Pilar was the one who told Theresa, like, maybe you can get Ethan back if you just like have a conversation with him and don't give up because y'all love each other. And then 5 minutes later, Pilar is yelling at her daughter that she's basically the worst human being on earth. No, it really was like that. It
yeah,
really was like that. She was so nasty,
yeah.
and really really did not like it. So
It could have been executed so differently because again, Pilar has every right to be like, I'm done with hopeful, gleeful Teresa. I need to tell you the truth. But it's the way you pinpointed that it was staggered, the way that it was structured, it didn't make any sense.
it doesn't make sense. Later on, Theresa sees Ethan with Gwen, but before we talk
And
about
she's like,
that,
I
which,
lost him, blah, 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 blah.
yeah, there's nothing really to talk about there. Let's talk
No.
about Chad and Whitney, y'all. I thought there would be
Hey!
no Chad and Whitney this week, because there haven't been, but we had some. We had a little. So Chad, um, goes to Whitney's bedroom, says, knock, knock, knock. Can we talk? He tells her, we need to talk about our relationship. She's like, we don't have a relationship, and he tells her, you know what? I want to stop wasting time so that you and I can just be together. Life is too short. Whitney is very resistant. She doesn't have much to say beyond, I promised Simone. She says, Simone wants you and I can't take you away from her. He says to her, I don't want Simone. I don't love Simone. I'm not with Simone. I loved that when he was like, I'm not with Simone. I don't love her. Y'all, like, you just made this up in your mind, just like your sister, I guess.
Yeah.
And then she does the whole like, but I promised Simone that I wouldn't, that whatever. And he says to her, you know what? You should go talk to Father Lon again, which is crazy because Theresa gives her the exact same advice.
Same advice. Well, because it's under the stipulation. Well, we'll get to it eventually, but there's so many stipulations in that. Remember, we all have to remember that Whitney on Simone's deathbed was like, if you bring her back to me, I promise I'll give up Chad, and that's what it is. But you know what? If we're going to preach Catholicism in here, and this is what the show keeps doing, especially when it comes to abortion and life, let's talk about it all the way through. You're not supposed to make promises to God like that. Like, you're not supposed to do those things. Yeah, I understand when you do them, you need to follow through on them, but that's the whole point. You're not supposed to be bargaining with God. I mean, that's the thing. And Chad and Theresa are absolutely right. If Father Lonigan has any sense, he would be like, God's not going to hold you to that.
Right, exactly. But she says it's not about God.
Yes, she does. She says something really badass. She's actually like, God isn't holding me to this. It is my love for my sister that's holding me to this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I struggle with Whitney, in that I think it's just so silly to be gaslighting your sister this way versus just, and again, the sibling relationship I struggle with, because it's like, I'd do anything for my sibling. I get it, but you're hurting her. Like,
this is a sticky situation. It's actually a little bit complicated because it is very easy for us to be like, oh, you just need to tell your sister the truth. But if y'all will recall, there was a conversation had between Simone and Whitney way back when Chad came to town. And because remember, Simone has been under this delusion that Chad is into her since the day she met him, basically, right? And so she had a conversation with Whitney wherein she explained, Whitney, you're the golden child. Everybody loves you. You do, people fall at your feet. You get everything. All the guys like you. You get absolutely everything. All the attention from mom and dad. You're the tennis star. You have everything. But I'm so glad I have this one thing that's my own. This one thing that's mine. And they have they did have that conversation. And if I had that conversation with my sister, it would absolutely stick with me. To be honest, Chad would 100% be off limits. Period.
Well, that's what I think that's the thing that I struggle with a lot, is just like, why are we letting this guy get in between these two sisters? But that's what we do on soap operas. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And it just really frustrates me for Chad also.
Because it would just... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I've cut you off.
Oh, I was going to say, like, I care about Chad. I think the actor's really good. Mm-hmm. I like the character. The character deserves so much better, but Chad deserves so much better. Mm-hmm. And I hate that he's relegated to this storyline. First of all, also, the black people in this show are relegated to really marginalized and small storylines, and it's frustrating. So then when we finally get to hang out with them, it's really annoying that it's on a repetitive basis, and it just really annoys me.
Yeah.
Particularly because I'm like, Chad is so smart. And it's not just street smart. It's like, he's actually like, you know what? If this is it, can I move on? Like, that's what he's talking to Whitney about. He's like, if this is what it's going to be, got it. You love your sister. Okay. Yeah. I think you're making a big mistake, but I got to move on.
Yeah.
And that's where Whitney's like, the Theresa tears in Whitney show up. And again, that's a lot for Whitney to have those like both of them were so good in such little, but that they got this week. They got so little, but did so good in those. It
was lovely. He says to her, I want you, but I can't force you to want me. I just wish you would give us a chance. And she never says anything to him. He just leaves. And he's talking to her back the majority of the time. She can't even look at him. Oh, it was so sad
And you
to
know what? I gotta
watch.
say this. When I look back on it, I have to remind myself that I do remember always having always having to think about this, that they could be brother and sister.
Right.
And I do remember having to grapple with that and rooting for them. Like it's so, you know what? It was living life with Derek.
Oh
Living
my
life with
God.
Derek. Do
Yeah.
not, like, this is the same shit.
But
We are rooting for
Life with Derek,
step.
they were absolutely step siblings.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
and it's horrible because we were rooting for these two step siblings.
I really was. I was just
We
like,
all were.
they
I
got to
think
get together.
I think Twitter, X, whatever, Reddit, all of us have gone like, they need to be together.
Yeah.
But here we're stuck with this, like, we're rooting for them. Maybe they can't. Maybe, Pat. We understand it's a soap opera, but we already, like you said it a while back again. Alistair's already told us that is Julian and Eve's son. So it is weird because I have to remind myself, what was I thinking back then? And I always was like rooting for them, but at the same point you have to go, but aren't they brother and sister? Like,
Right.
and that's just weird. It's
Yep.
just weird.
It's
Anyway,
just weird. It really is.
Whitney goes to see Theresa.
Yes,
After
Whitney
this.
goes to see Theresa, and Theresa is dealing with the aftermath of all of the Ethan stuff, right? But Whitney's there to like talk to Theresa, her best friend, right? Because
Yeah.
let's be clear, Whitney has been riding 10 toes down with Theresa through all of Theresa's bullshit. It is now Theresa's turn to show up for Whitney, regardless of if it's a good time or not, right?
Yeah.
And I will say Theresa rose to the occasion, and I love that.
She was this. We could root for Theresa here.
Yeah, Whitney comes in to talk to Theresa. Theresa Whitney says to Theresa, "How are you doing?" And Theresa says, "Not great, and I don't want you to end up like me." She immediately turns things around, like, "What about you, Whitney?" She says, I don't want you, the same thing that has happened to me to happen to you, which, bitch, it could never happen to me. I would never get pregnant with Julian Crane's baby.
My
That's
mom
what I
may
thought.
have, but not me.
Right. It was just so funny. She's like, "I don't want the same thing that happened to me to happen to you."
Yeah.
Our two situations are very different.
But I will say,
anyway.
I'm impressed that Theresa was like, you know what, my life's fucked up. How are you?
Yeah.
Because that is huge for her.
She immediately says, "I know you love Chad and Chad loves you. Do not lose him. Or you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Don't lose
Theresa's
him."
basically speaking for us.
And then Whitney talks to her about the little promise she made to her sister or God or whoever you want to think is to. And Theresa gets pissed at her and is just like, "How about you go talk to Father Lon again? He'll never hold you to that."
And
And
she's absolutely 100% correct.
Whitney, of course, just like gives her basically the same kind of response that she gave Chad. But Whitney's sad at this point. She says,
Yeah.
Theresa says this to Whitney. Theresa says, "I lost my chance at love. Don't lose yours. You don't have to lose yours." She says, "Look inside your heart. Look into your heart." She says, "Look inside your heart and listen to what it's telling you. It's telling you that you love Chad, isn't it?" And Whitney's like, "Yeah, it is."
And they
And
get so excited. Yeah.
yeah, and she admits that her heart is telling her to hang on to Chad. And Teresa's like, "Well, we gotta go find him." So they go out into the cold winter night to find Chad. They find him at the book cafe, and she sees him through the window. Teresa like leaves Whitney there to like finish, to have her own.
They basically are like, we're going to go find our men. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to go make it happen.
So Whitney's standing there and she notices that some girl is like flirting with Chad. And Chad like turns around, looks at her, and smiles at her, and she smiles back at him.
Yeah.
And he gets this little, inner
Thought bubble.
monologue
Yeah.
of Whitney's here. She must have changed her mind. I wonder if she changed her mind. He's like happy, right? So Teresa's like, no way Whitney can fuck this up. And so she leaves, right, to go find Ethan. Well, inside there's some girl asking Chad, and she's like holding his hands, which
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. If I saw that, I also probably would have turned around. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I probably would have been like, oh, that's
Yeah.
fast. I
Yeah.
don't know if I would have even bothered,
Yeah.
because my pride would be so hurt, because
Yeah.
Chad is like holding hands with this girl across the counter, and it is made clear to us that it's the girl who's like coming on to Chad. But
Yes.
if that's all you see
Okay.
from outside and you don't hear anything, you don't know what the conversation is, it looks bad, right?
I understand that, but I do get frustrated in this sense that we always have to put Chad in this little bubble of like, he's a bad dude and he's gonna cheat on me. Because I'm like, you know Chad long enough now that you should have a little bit of
Well,
trust in
I
him.
I do think that at this point it was, because she makes a comment to Theresa about like, it's probably too late. He's probably
Okay, so
moving on. I don't
she's
think
just
it's that.
unsure of herself. She's a badass on the court, but not in this.
Is she? I haven't seen her on the court. I wouldn't know. But yeah, I don't think that she thinks Chad's a bad guy anymore at all. I don't
Yeah.
think that she thinks he's this
So she's
philandering
just in
guy.
her own. Yeah, she just has that self doubt.
I think she thinks she's missed her chance, basically.
Yeah.
So she sees it. This girl's asking Chad if he'll go ice skating with her. He turns around, sees that Whitney is walking away, and so he agrees to go ice skating with this girl, Katie, I think was her name. I don't remember.
I
Who
didn't pay
cares?
attention.
And so that's the end. Teresa sees Ethan
Talking
kissing,
to Gwen.
not kissing Gwen, not
They're
kissing.
consoling each other.
Yeah, sees Ethan with Gwen, and so she's like, "Oh my God, I've lost him forever." So, that's it. That's it. That's the episode for the day. You got any more to add?
Listen, I had too much of a blast. Look at how long we talked today. God bless it. But you
It
know
was,
what? It was fun to catch up. And again, this we're on our way to new storylines. We're on our way to like some not resolutions, but we're just gonna get into more of the weeds, and I'm
yeah.
excited
I'm
about it.
I'm so excited for Teresa to like make that turn into like the lady of the manor, right?
And it's coming.
I'm
Oh
so
boy, is it
excited to see
coming.
her to realize, wait a minute, I'm Mrs. Crane. Neither of you bitches are Mrs. Crane. Get out of my
It hasn't
house.
even dawned on her. It's
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah. Well, because she's so preoccupied with trying to get Ethan back.
Yeah.
But once she feels like Ethan's a lost cause, finally, I think she will. I mean, I
Yeah.
know she will
Well,
make
she's
that
about to go
turn.
into Ivy Crane mode. She just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, y'all. So that's the whole thing. Eric, where can the people find you on the internet?
I am at Mr. Eric Vetta on everything. And again, just please get on the Discord, chat with people there. If you want to interact with me, please feel free to do so. But we have a good time on those watch parties and the Patreon, just chatting about what we heard. It's grateful. What a fun community you
Yeah.
created. So I hope
Aw.
people can be a part of it.
I wasn't able to do any watch parties last month. I felt so bad, but I've been very depressed.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But we will be having watch parties resuming this month, everybody. So be looking out for that. And remember, you can always find me on all the social media. Just check the link in my bio and send me an email, send me a message. I don't always respond, y'all, but I do read everything. And sometimes I try to respond. I just
Yeah.
can't always get to everything. But if you have things that you want to say to me, you want to discourse about like the show, yes, please write in. Like I said, the response might be sparse. I try my best, but all right. So with that, you are my passion for life.